Shadowrun. If ever there was a game that needed a character creation tutorial, this one is it. Let's have some real talk for just a minute. I've been playing Shadowrun since the late 90s. It's one of the first games I played after D&D, and it's one of my all-time favorite game lines. Shadowrun has always been a little complex and very rules heavy. As a player, I've always had issues with character creation, regardless of which edition I was playing. And now, as a game master, I'm supposed to be the one that's the expert. So back in 2019, I made it my goal to master the Shadowrun system so I could be the expert for my players. Coincidentally, this was at the exact same time Shadowrun 6th edition, aka Shadowrun Sixth World, was released. I picked my copy up at Gen Con that year. I was super excited to read the book, absorb the new rules, and become a Shadowrun guru. Finally. Hell, I even bought the Shadowrun Beginner's Box so I could hit the new edition at full speed. And guess what? I crashed and burned. But today, I'm here to help you make your very first Shadowrun character for 6th edition. To get started, roll 2d6. 2d10. Thinking a new edition of the game would make things easier for me and my players to learn the game was a critical error on my part. But it wasn't because I was naive. This was the 6th edition of the game. Now, I'm not going to get into review territory here because that's just not the point of this video. But if you've picked up SR6, the Beginner's Box, or tried to make a character in the new system, you know this video is needed. Since its beginning, Shadowrun has been a game with a rich, vibrant setting with tons of potential to be super fun and exciting. But much of the content and rules in the newest edition are confusing, vague, and honestly just poorly laid out. And this inevitably turns a lot of people off the game, no matter how enthusiastic their GM might be. So today, my goal is simple. I'm here to help you understand character creation for Shadowrun Sixth World. Let's get down to business, chummers. Before we get to the nuts and bolts, here's a list of pages and tables from the Shadowrun Sixth World core book I'll be using for character creation. In Shadowrun 6th edition, character creation is split up into 6 steps. They are: Step 1, define your role in history. Step 2, select character priorities. Step 3, select qualities. Step 4, spend customization karma. Step 5, buy gear. And Step 6, finishing steps. Great, now let's get to work creating a character. If you've ever watched any of my tutorial videos before, you know I always make a character for them, and I always concern myself with story first and not for point strategy. In other words, I spend the points to represent the story, not the other way around. This sheet was downloaded from Shadowrun6thworld.com, where you can also download errata, conversion guides, and more. Additionally, if you want to know more about the world of Shadowrun, meta-humanity, skill sets, which aren't classes, I swear, and more, this is the site for you. Check the link in the description. So let's get started with our long Shadowrunning career and turn to page 58 in our core book. The first step in making the character is to define your role in history. Role refers to your role within the context of your Shadowrun group. In Shadowrun, your character acts outside the law, performing various illicit services in exchange for cold, hard Nuyen, cash. You're a criminal. So what do you do for the team? Provided are 4 concept examples that are common to the setting. These roles can look a lot like character classes, but truly they aren't. Shadowrun has no hard and fast class system, but there are loosely defined roles within the Shadowrunner team dynamic. A full example of these archetypes can be found starting on page 81. Now, side note here, there's no shame as a new player in simply plucking one of these archetypes straight from the book, adding your own background story to it, and jumping into the game. No exaggeration, I did that for the first 3 or 4 years I played Shadowrun. My attention span was just too short to wade through the vast library of Shadowrun books to make my own character. Page 59 and 63 will help you figure out all the questions you need to answer when making your Shadowrunner. Back to the task at hand. My character calls himself Jizo. Jizo was born in the Seattle Metroplex in 2055. His father was a wage slave working for one of the major megacorps. Jizo's father made sure he was always involved in martial arts as a child to keep him from getting into trouble and to teach him discipline. Unfortunately, Jizo's father lacked the same discipline he tried to instill in his son and had a compulsive gambling problem. Eventually, his father's gambling tore the family apart. After years of debt to the Yakuza, Jizo's father was found dead. Jizo blamed the Yakuza for his father's death, but was never able to prove who'd committed the act. The young man continued to train his mind and body in martial arts. His discipline and patience helped him surpass his own limits, but isolated him from those he loved. As he turned inward, Jizo lost sight of those in need around him. One night, while returning from his dojo, he noticed, as if for the first time, the true squalor and disparity of his neighborhood. Most lived like squatters, preyed upon by criminals, BTL dealers, and worse. Jizo saw this and had a moment of clarity. The most valuable lesson his father had given him was the will and discipline to protect those who needed it most. Jizo has begun offering his services to the Shadows in the past year. He has a great disrespect for megacorps and organized crime due to his father's death. He believes that shadowrunning gives the downtrodden of society the chance to make a difference in the world. He lives in the old sprawl, protecting the people who can't protect themselves and making enemies of those who'd prey upon them. If Jizo ever heard the ancient tales of Robin Hood growing up, he would definitely identify with the guy. Wow, kinda sounds like the heroic type, huh? Well, what can I say? I like to buck tradition, but I also present this character as an example of how anyone with the right story can end up running the Shadows, and everyone has their own motives for stepping outside of the law. So for step 1, let's assign Jizo's role as an adept. He's a normal human who unlocked the magic potential of his body through training and dedication. He offers the team swift hands, combat prowess, and potentially the edge they need in the form of a hidden weapon. On page 64, you'll find the priority table. There are 5 priority categories available. They are metatype, attributes, skills, magic or resonance, and resources. There are also 5 priority rankings from A to E. A being the highest, E being the lowest. Now I'll show you an example of how I'm going to assign my priorities. A, skills, giving me 32. B, attributes, giving me 16. C, metatype, allows me to pick dwarf, elf, human, orc, or troll, and gives me 9 adjustment points. More on that in a minute. D, magic, gives me a magic of 1 as an adept. E, resources, gives me 8,000 new yen to start. So let's unpack what those choices mean. Skills are straightforward in that they define what the character can do. I want a lot of skills for my character because I'm going to need a lot to offer this group if I'm a guy going into a hot situation without a gun, a deck, or some bleeding edge cyber gear. Attributes are the physical and mental representations of my character, as well as the special ones like edge, essence, and magic. More on attributes can be found on page 63 with descriptions on page 37. Metatype represents what race or creature type I want to play. Each metatype has some specific attributes that can be boosted higher, which are listed on the metatype attribute table on page 64. Also, the metatype priority you pick includes adjustment points, and I'll discuss this a bit later. Magic priority determines what level of magic I start with if I'm playing a magic user. Finally, resources determines how much cash you start with at character creation. If you're going to be playing a teched out street samurai or something of that nature, you may want a ton of cash to start with for tech, gear, lifestyles, etc. Let's get back to the character. First, let's pick a metatype. For my character, Jizo is a human. At priority C, I get adjustment points. I can spend these adjustment points on magic or resonance, edge, or special racial attributes, those attributes that can start above 6. As a human, that racial attribute is only going to be edge. Look at the table on page 64 once more. See how many of the metatypes have attribute ranges above 6? These are where you can spend those adjustment points. Back on our sheet, mark down our minimum starting attributes. That's right, your attributes all start at 1. For me, this was a major source of confusion when I made my first character. The very first paragraph under attributes on page 63 explains this, but not very clearly. Just know every standard attribute and edge start with 1 point in each. Write down any racial qualities your character might have. Jizo, as a human, has none. Let's distribute those attribute points. They are spent on a 1-for-1 basis. If I want 6 agility and I start with 1, I need to add 5 points of my 16 available from my priority assignment. Keep in mind your metatype maximum, as only 1 attribute can start at max. You can really play around with your points here and make a well-rounded character or a character that skews heavily to 1 or 2 attributes. Since attribute and skill advancement have the same karma XP cost, I've opted to go with less in attributes to start and more in skills. Since I can potentially get some magical assistance or qualities that will help boost my attributes, I want to be more skilled at character creation. There's no right or wrong answer here. This is just how I've chosen to make my character. Skills. They all start at 0 and cost 1 for 1 at character creation. So if you want 5 ranks in close combat, that'll cost you 5 points. The maximum skill rating at character creation is 6, and you can only have 1 skill at the highest rank. You can also spend an additional point for a specialization at character creation, which gives you +2 dice pool bonus for skill tests related to that specialization. More on specialization can be found on page 65 under skill heading and page 92. The skills important to my concept are close combat, athletics, stealth, perception, firearms, and piloting. Next, let's conjure up some magic. As an adept, I've set my priority to D magic, giving me a magic of 1. I get power points equal to 1 currently because that's my magic rating. On page 157, I choose improved reflexes, costing me 1 power point. More on magic in a few. Let's jump back and assign those meta type points from earlier. I have 9 adjustment points from priority C I can spend on magic and edge. So let's do that now. I'm going to take 5 of those points and boost my magic to a 6. I'll put 4 into my edge, giving me a 5. Here's a bone of contention I'm going to mention before we go forward. There are several confusing and contradictory statements in the book regarding magic, powers, starting spells, starting number of powers, etc. For adepts, on page 156 it states, whenever an adept character gains a point of magic, they also gain a power point. This means that an adept character who starts with a magic rating of 4 also starts with 4 power points. Power points don't need to be spent when they're obtained, characters can spend them when ready. So that's what I'm gonna do. Mark it, dude. I have 5 more power points to spend when I circle back. Resources are next, and I'll mark down 8,000 new yen, which I'll spend later. Now let's look at qualities. Starting on page 70, qualities are the positive and negative details that help fill out a character, making them more multidimensional. Qualities all have a karma cost associated with them, and negative qualities have a karma bonus. You can only have a total of 6 qualities at character creation, and the net bonus karma can only be 20. I'm gonna try to pick my qualities to a net 0 just to keep things simple. A guy like Jizo probably avoids spending time with the Matrix if possible. I'll give him the negative quality AR Vertigo worth 10 karma. Also, Jizo is certainly the type to live by a code, so I'll give him Honor Bound worth 10 karma. Additionally, I'll take Toughness for 12 karma and Thermographic Vision for 8. That puts me at a net 0, and I have some interesting unique traits to my character. It's time to spend that customization karma, the moment we've all been waiting for. Every character gets 50 karma to customize their character, which sounds like a boatload, but it's not really. You can spend your karma on skills, attributes, or even some extra cash to get you those few supplies. Hell, you can even buy qualities. So what am I gonna spend Jizo's karma on? First, I'm gonna spend 11 karma on initiation. More on initiation can be found on page 166 and 167. Some of you might be asking, am I allowed to do this at character creation? Does it say anywhere you can't? You might want to talk to your GM first, but I couldn't find anywhere that it says you can't do it at character creation. Initiation does a few things for my character. First, it increases his maximum magic rank. Your character's maximum magic rank is 6 plus initiate grade, making Jizo's max 7. Jizo now gains access to the meta planes. It also gives Jizo access to meta magics. When you initiate, your character learns a meta magic power for each grade. I'll take the meta magic power point. Now let's increase our magic attribute to 7, giving us another power point. Make a note, we have 7 additional power points to spend on our adept powers. Here's what I took for Jizo. Killing Hands, 0.5 power points. Improved physical attribute Agility for 1 point. Mystic Armor of 2 for 0.5 points. Critical Strike for 1 point. Improved Reflexes for 3. Improved Ability Close Combat for 1. Great, now that we've finished all that, let's spend some of that cold, hard new yen. Gear is a major aspect of Shadowrun, and cash is the main motivator for the game. You want to live on the streets? No problem. You want some actual comfort in the Sixth World? It'll cost you. Jizo needs 2 things right away. First, a lifestyle. We know Jizo isn't a squatter, but he's certainly living in a less than stellar setting. I'll assign him a low lifestyle at 2,000 new yen per month, and like that, 25% of the starting money is gone. Next, he needs a comlink. Much like in our own modern world, anyone without a personal communication device is considered an oddity. Jizo avoids tech if he can, so he's going to own the most frugal and basic comlink he can find, the Metalink for 100 new yen. Jizo needs to avoid scrutiny if he's going to run the shadows, but that means gearing up with a solid fake sin. But holy crap, they aren't cheap. A rating 2 fake sin is $5 grand, but that's all I can afford now, so screw it. I'll buy the rating 2 fake sin and hope I can get something better once I get running. Okay, I've got 900 nuyen left. Let's get Jizo some armor since he's going to be getting up close and personal with folks. Armor clothing works at 500 nuyen, leaving me with 400 left. Finally, let's get Jizo a weapon. Yeah, we're gonna buy him a katana. I know. 350 for the katana leaves me with a paltry 50 nuyen. I sure would like a license for that sword, but I just don't have enough cash for anything. Oh, I do have 4 karma left. I'll cash one in for 2,000 nuyen. Remember, the license you buy cannot exceed the level of the sin it's linked to. Since I only have a level 2 fake sin, my license for the sword can only be rank 2, which costs me 400 nuyen. Alright, that's it for my gear. I'll hold on to that 1950 nuyen so I have some cash at the start of the game. Finally, let's put down some finishing touches to Jizo and get playing. Contacts are huge in Shadowrun. If you don't know anyone, you really aren't anyone. As I said earlier, I have 12 points to spend on contacts divided between connection and loyalty. Neither of these ratings can be higher than 2, which is my character's charisma. As an example, I made up a contact named Shin, a martial arts teacher. I gave him a connection of 2 and a loyalty of 2. Work with your GM closely for contact creation and assignment. If they're like me, they probably have a ton of NPCs ready to go. Next, let's assign those knowledge and language skills. Knowledge skills are different from some earlier editions, and you only get a small selection of them. Knowledge and language skills are equal to your logic, so I get 2 of them total. Additionally, you receive 1 native language for free. Knowledge skills don't have ranks like active skills, instead they just allow you to gain knowledge connected to other tests. More on knowledge skills can be found starting on page 97. For Jizo, I'll take Sprawl Streets. He has a basic understanding of life in the Sprawl. For languages, those are also a bit different from other skills. For Jizo's native language, I'll pick English. He was born in Seattle and he learned Japanese from his parents, so I'll give him 1 rank in Japanese. Next, let's figure out our attack rating. At close, this is equal to reaction plus strength. For Jizo, this is 10. Defense rating is armor rating plus body. For Jizo, that's 4 from body, plus 2 for armor clothing, plus 2 for mystic armor for a total of 8. Initiative is reaction and intuition at base, plus extra dice you get from powers or augmentations. For Jizo, his initiative looks like this. I'll also mark down Jizo's Astral initiative, just in case. This is logic plus intuition plus 2d6. Composure is willpower plus charisma. Judge intentions is willpower plus intuition. Memory is logic plus intuition. Lift, carry is body plus willpower. Strength times 10 for lift capacity without roll. Physical condition monitors are half body rounded up plus 8 boxes. Jizo has 10 total. Stun is half willpower rounded up plus 8 boxes. For Jizo, that's 9. Overflow is equal to twice your body, so for Jizo, that's 8. Finally, we are done with Jizo and Shadowrun Sixth World character creation. The main reason I've made this video is because I truly enjoy Shadowrun, and I think 6th edition can be fun, but the base rules as presented in the book are a little confusing. Hopefully this made sense and helped you on your journey to run the shadows. Now here's the real question. Did I do everything correctly? Maybe, maybe not. Let me know in the comments below if you spotted an error in my video. The truth is, I'm not actually 100% sure myself. Well, I'm off to run the shadows with my chummers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.